Kia ora, g'day, welcome back once again. So here with the reaction this time. So I got sent through on the back end of my first reaction. I've done a few more reactions to the Antihero Podcast, the Barney Fife of Baghdad, with Brent Tucker and his co-host for the Antihero Podcast, Mr. Tyler. Still don't know Tyler's surname. But a few people sent me through this link, which I believe is what Brent Tucker and Tyler are referring to, although I haven't got into any point on that hour 45 where they show any footage of this guy's information that he apparently has or has obtained in regards to John McPhee. So a few people sent me this link, said, hey, check this out. You might want to do a reaction to this. It'll give you some context. So I'm looking at it now. I'll just mention before we jump into this as well, I've seen the first 15 seconds of this. So this guy jumped straight into what he's about to get into with regards to Mr. McPhee. Man, I personally, I don't know John McPhee. I don't know this guy. I don't know any of the Delta Force guys. I don't know Brent Tucker or his co-host Tyler. They seem to have good channels in what they do. And they seem like good people. They seem like decent people that are legitimately, I don't know, in their own way, trying to be transparent about the stuff that I guess people say or claim to have done or have been a part of. And so I can understand that. I have no idea what this guy's about to get into other than what I've heard in the bits and pieces on the Brent Tucker podcast and also some of the comments and the messages that I've received about it. But I think for me, if I start going down a rabbit hole of starting to slag off, whether it's John McPhee or anybody in this community that they're a part of, I'm probably just gonna hit stop and then just delete this whole thing and not even bother showing it. So I've mentioned, I think in another video, might have been a live Q&A. Yeah, there have been a number of requests in and around Tim Kennedy, in and around Rob O'Neill, in and around also the John Chapman stuff in that as well. Rest in peace to Mr. John Chapman. Not about him specifically, but about some of the aftermath, for want of a better term, in terms of what happened there on Roberts Ridge. So, yeah. If I end up sounding like a twat, I'm going to stop this and you'll likely never see it. But otherwise, I'm interested to hear what all the hoopla and the fuss is about. And as long as I'm not being a prick towards John McPhee or these guys that are trying to highlight their stuff. So anyway, after that blinking long-winded spiel, let's jump into this.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. No fancy intros today. We're going to jump straight into this episode. A lot of you are probably thinking, based off the title thumbnail, this has to be comedy, satire, sarcasm of some sort. No, I can assure you this is a very, very serious video today. And I'm sure you're wondering, how is this even remotely possible? Well, that's what I'm going to show you today. So what we're going to be doing is going through all of the USASOC and Army Human Resource Command documents and service records of John McPhee. What these documents are the unclassified, releasable USASOC Freedom of Information Act documents that are the investigation and the Special Forces tab revocation of John McPhee, amongst a bunch of other even more serious punishments, in 2009. All right, so none of this is my opinions. None of this is secondhand stories through the rumor mill, grapevine. Everything I show you in this entire episode will be backed up by documents from either USASOC or U.S. Army Human Resource Command. So,
interesting. Just listening to information obtained from I forget the term that he used, human resources, something or other. But then I did hear him say the Freedom of Information Act. I wonder what has triggered this guy, sorry, I don't know his name. I wonder what's triggered this guy to go and request the information of Mr. John Shrek McPhee. I mean, I don't know what John has done or said, other than what I've already reacted to on the Antihero podcast. So is that the catalyst for why this guy has gone and requested this information? I don't know. Feel free to whack it in the comments if you know. But yeah, let's carry on.
Let's not waste any more time. We're going to jump into it. We're going to start at the beginning, work our way through it. I'm going to give you some viewer discretion advised. There's some pretty horrific things that you may hear in this, but that's the way it is. Truth is what's important. So here we go. All right, so first document we're going to look at here in the linear chain of events of the Special Forces tab revocation, amongst, as you'll see here, the revocation of the Green Beret. The MOS changed from 18 series, which is
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm not even trying to read that document. I'm just listening to what he's saying. It'd be good if he highlights it or something, or if he was able to just zoom in on the pieces that are relevant, because there's no way I'm going to be trying to read that during this reaction or any other documents that he might put up on the screen.
Green Beret, 18 Zulu to 11 Zulu, and infantrymen. All right, so for those of you who haven't been in the military, but in the military is going to know what a DA 4187 is. Personnel action, it's essentially changing something about the soldier's records. As you can see here, down by the X, you have the reclassification and SF tab. When we come down to the remarks section here, you will see, number 1, request reclassification from 18 Zulu, Green Beret Team Sergeant.
Okay, so this is better. I saw the X that he spoke about there, but yeah, cool if he's doing this, because I'm having trouble. It's not that I can't see, it's that I just, can't be bothered trying to read the document on the screen. So it's good that he's doing this.
Or Sergeant Major. 2, 11 Zulu, infantrymen. Number 2, concurrent with this reclassification, request the award of the Special Forces tab to Sergeant Major McPhee be revoked. Soldier's been notified of this actions. And as you see down here, yes, this was part of a GOMAR. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Okay, as you see, not only that, look who this was signed by. Admiral McRaven, all the way to the top. So yes, this was very serious.
GOMOR, they've got all the acronyms. I have no idea what the GOMOR, GOMOR, means. But interesting that he said it's gone all the way to the top, the head shed, with regards to that document that he's just gone through and revoking the Special Forces tab from John McPhee. Again, don't know why that's happened, but as he's alluded to so far, must be something pretty serious.
And yes, trust me that we're going to get into all of the reasons why all these punishments were doled out, but we need to take a look at all of the punishments because it's a lot more than just the tab revocation. All right, next document you'll see here, memorandum from the commander. As you can see, recommendation for termination of CMF 18 status, being a Green Beret, and the Special Forces tab of Sergeant Major John McPhee. It says here, I have reviewed the file, including a General Officer Memorandum of Reprimand today, which I directed and filed in Sergeant Major McPhee's OMPF, and recommend you initiate administrative procedures to terminate Sergeant Major McPhee's current MOS, being a Green Beret, and revoke his Special Forces tab. Sergeant Major John McPhee's serious misconduct while assigned to United States Special Operations Command reflects a deficiency in the professional judgment and personal integrity, calling into question his ability to adhere to the personal and professional standards required of a Special Forces Sergeant Major. I make this recommendation based off of AR 600-37, Chapter 1-4, and the objectives of balancing the rights of individual soldiers with the Army's need to ensure that soldiers of poor moral character are not continued in the service and advanced position of leadership, trust, and responsibility. All right, I know you're already asking up front, what?
Man, that's heavy in terms of the document itself. But I think I have heard comments in and around, and I think Brent Tucker says it as well on the Antihero Podcast, that John, or in the introductions, it's mentioned that he's ex-Delta Force and all that sort of stuff, and ex-Green Beret and Ranger or whatever. I don't know if the Green Beret and Rangers are the same thing or whether they're different. But listening to that, and I know this guy's going to get into it more because I've cut him off, but listening to that, like, sounds like John McPhee was ex-Delta Force, was ex-Special Forces or Green Beret and or Ranger. So I don't know what the issue is. I have heard bits and pieces where I guess in some of the intros it talks about he's a retired sergeant major from the Delta Force, and I think, if I'm remembering rightly, there's been comments from people, or like the Brent Tuckers of the world, highly respected and reputable guys in their own right within the special operations or special forces field, that I think have an issue with that because of, I suppose, what this guy's highlighting. The documents show that he had those positions or titles or tabs, whatever they're called, in their particular space and their particular units or defence force, revoked or removed from him. So I think some of the concerns has been that he's been introduced as that's how he left the special forces. But I think what they're highlighting, or what this guy sounds like what he's highlighting, is that he didn't retire as a special forces sergeant major. But you know what? My take, like, he did serve there, it sounds and looks like, and he was a sergeant major within the Delta Force, within the special forces. So I can't see why that would be such a big deal for these guys to be coming after him. But anyway, maybe there's more to it, and this guy has alluded to it, and he's got a bunch more information. So we'll see what he has to say.
It could have been so bad that doled out some of these extreme punishments. We haven't even got through all of them yet. But trust me, that's going to come in the second half of the video. All right, let's keep moving through these documents. All right, and so the final official orders, permanent change of records, right here, as you can see, following order is revoked or rescinded as shown. Action revoke pertaining to award of Special Forces tab by the commander. All right, now I'm going to show you the rest of the punishments that came with having the Green Beret revoked and the Special Forces tab revoked here. So as you see here, SWIC's revocation of your Special Forces tab, also the MLS change to 11 Zulu, so revocation of the Green Berets. Well, suspension of your special pays, suspension of your security clearance, and 30 days to find an assignment at Fort Bragg, vice PCSing to Fort Drum. All right, so obviously these are very, very extreme punishments. The revocation of the Green Beret Special Forces tab, getting your security clearances banned, things like that. But that's not even our biggest punishment. And this next one actually leads us into some very, very concerning misrepresentation of service, because as we all know him, Sergeant Major McPhee,
also known as the Sheriff of Baghdad or Shrek. You are a retired U.S. Army Special Operations Sergeant Major with over 20 years.
Well, that's really interesting, because what I have here is John's.
Just before this guy carries on, it seems, I don't know, it seems strange. Like, I'm hoping, there's still time in here. I'm hoping that we get to what it is that he's done, apart from some of the stories that I've heard so far when I've been doing the reaction on the Antihero podcast, which seem off and seem strange to me. Maybe he's embellished some of his stories or his experiences. And it seems like he has on the other reaction or reactions that I've done so far. This, I don't know. This itself seems a little bit weird and off to be really going in on somebody's military record to find out about, what's going on or what's happened to them. I don't know. Just I might not be making sense, and I don't know what is their bad blood between this guy or Brent Tucker or the Antihero Podcast. Is there bad blood between? I don't think between the Antihero Podcast and this one. I think those ones sort of, they've referenced each other in the past, and I know Brent referenced this guy in his podcast, so it seems like they must have a good relationship. But it's, I don't know, there's like John McPhee, Antihero Podcast, Valhalla, and I don't know, is there like bad blood between these guys for whatever reason? And is that what the catalyst is? Is that what has started this this quest? I don't know how to describe it, for want of a better term, in terms of digging into, the life of another person. But anyway, let's carry
Service
on.
records sent to me directly by U.S. Army Human Resources Command as coordinated through USASOC. And according to the U.S. Army, John is a retired master sergeant. That is an E8. That is a very different rank than a sergeant major. As we see here, his full service records, he joined in 1991. That date's going to be very important later as we talk about some things. In Career Management Field 11, the infantry, and CMF 18, Special Forces, all the way up until, obviously, he had that tab revoked in 2009. And confirming that, as we move down through his service records and we get down into awards here, we start to hit into the schools and badges. Yeah, Ranger tab here you see, but what you don't see here is, of course, the Special Forces tab that would be before that. So according to the U.S. Army...
I still don't get it with a lot of stuff. In terms of what he's talking about there, you don't see the Special Forces before the Ranger tab. That must be a unique distinction between Ranger or SF Ranger or whatever. Is he saying that he's lied about his whole military career? Because it doesn't seem like he has. It seems like he's... was in the Special Forces. Like, I don't think you can bluff your way through that, saying that you were a Delta Force and Green Beret and all that sort of stuff. And having a Special Forces tab removed, to me anyway, I don't think negates the fact that he was Special Forces. Anyway, so that's what I mean. I'm confused. Like, are they saying that he was never Special Forces, or that it's just that he didn't officially retire as a Special Forces Sergeant Major, but he did serve as a Special Forces Sergeant Major at some point in his career? Anyway, that's what it sounds like. He served at some point for however long as a Sergeant Major in the Special Forces. Cool. Lincoln, respect. The fact that he didn't retire as, by the sounds of things, a Special Forces Sergeant Major, but retired as a Master Sergeant, I think they said, in an infantry unit. There's nothing wrong with that either, but I don't know or see how or why that is such a big deal to be digging into all the stuff about John McPhee's military history.
John is not a retired Sergeant Major Green Beret. John is a retired Master Sergeant infantryman. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, that is not the story that we've been told. And the thing is, these things, guys, these are a privilege. These are not a right. And when the Special Forces Regiment revokes this privilege from you, you are no longer a part of this community at all. Now we have to look at why.
That makes sense. I like that comment and that clarification from this guy, but it's still, sorry, I cut him off. He said, now we're about to look at why. But I still don't see the problem with John McPhee stating, it probably would sound better and be better if he said, I retired as whatever it is, 11 Zulu Bravo, whatever it's called, as an infantryman, as a Master Sergeant infantryman. But prior to that, I served as a Sergeant Major in the Special Forces, and I did this and did that, blah, blah, blah. Like, that may be a better way of saying it if they're looking at the technicalities of what John has been saying about his military service and how he retired, or what stage and position he retired from the military at. But it seems pretty minor to me anyway. Anyway, I cut this guy off, so I'll just go back a sec and then hear what he has to say.
No longer a part of this community at all. Now we have to look at why. Why did all this happen? Why did all these extreme punishments happen? And I told you at the beginning of the video, I'm going to say it again. What we're going to get into is extremely disturbing, and try to leave my emotions out of it. Downright disgusting. But I'll let you make the decisions for yourself. First, we're going to see what Special Forces Command had to say. All right.
Sorry to cut him off again. That can be a hard thing, eh? You go down a rabbit hole and you're investigating, it seems like, for want of a better term, what this gentleman is doing. And good on him. Like, he has his reasons, clearly passionate about it. He's got a lot of memorabilia and stuff behind him on his wall that he's very much connected to. But it can weigh heavy on the mind and heart when you start digging into things and finding stuff that you're not happy about. But anyway, let's jump into this and hear why he's had these things revoked, why John McPhee has had these
So
things.
this is the actual reprimand document from the Special Forces Command Team, and we're going to go through it, okay? So it gets into the start of the reasons why. So it says here, you are reprimanded for committing adultery with a fellow non-commissioned officer assigned to this command in violation of Article 134 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. A commander's inquiry conducted by Redacted, pursuant of Rule of Courts Martial 303, found that during 2008 and January of 2009, you carried on an adulterous relationship with a married woman who was not your wife. During the entire duration of the relationship, both you and Redacted were assigned to Joint Special Operations Command. You admitted to this misconduct during the investigation. And here is what Special Forces Command had to say about John. You are hereby reprimanded for your misconduct. Your acts demonstrate an absolute departure from the moral, ethical, and legal standards required of our most senior non-commissioned officers. As the senior enlisted advisor of the J8 Directorate, you were entrusted to lead, supervise, and care for your soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. You cannot lead without setting the proper legal, moral, and ethical example. You demonstrated an utter lack of judgment and blatant disregard for these standards of conduct, undermining the fundamental good order and discipline of your unit. As such, your conduct falls markedly short of the standards expected of leaders in this command. That's a far cry difference from what he has to say about himself.
I mean, I think I'm a great role model.
So you might be thinking,
Man, I don't know, I personally don't agree with airing out some very private, deeply personal stuff with regards to what Mr. McPhee, John McPhee, has been through. You know, clearly not a perfect person. None of us are, myself included in that. But man, it's sad that that anybody would put this stuff out. Yeah, call it Freedom of Information Act or whatever. I personally don't care. I think that's pretty harsh to be airing out somebody's private, personal stuff. Yeah, hey, he's been reprimanded. He's had things revoked. He's made some poor choices, made some poor decisions. Adultery, not great. Two parties, always two to tango with regards to it. Not cool at all. I don't condone it, not trying to justify it, not trying to say it's okay. What I personally don't agree with, I'm already blinking 8 minutes into it now. I've got nothing bad to say about John Shrek McPhee with regards to whatever his reasons or decisions were and the other party's decisions were for them to get into a relationship and commit adultery. Credit to the Special Forces unit and their military for not supporting or condoning that type of behavior and following their process. But I think it's sad and not cool to be putting out a person's deeply private personal information on the internet for the whole world to see. And the fact that he is saying that he feels like he's a good role model, we're probably missing context, Maybe he's just at a point where he's been able to put behind him some of the stuff that, has dragged him down. That is no doubt weighed heavy. I'd like to think it's weighed heavy on him personally, on the person that's, done those things. Maybe it hasn't. I don't know. But maybe he's coming out of that, and maybe we're missing some of the context in terms of what he said there about feeling like he's a good role model. Maybe he feels like he's a good role model because, I don't know, does he talk about this stuff here and the bad decisions that he's made and the things that he's had to come to terms with and confront and admit and go, yep, I was an idiot or whatever. And is it on the back of that as context that he feels like, he could be a good role model? I don't know. But yeah, this is sad, man. Anyway, I'll carry on and hear what else is said. In
adultery, that's not that big of a deal. Oh, there's a lot more to it than that we're going to take a look at. But as you can see here,
I don't agree with that, and I'm not trying to say that adultery isn't that big of a deal. That's a huge deal. If you're in the Special Forces realm and that element of trust, integrity, those high morals and value sets and all that sort of stuff. It doesn't just apply to the boys in the unit. It should and needs to apply within your life, personal life, relationships, all that sort of stuff, if not more so. So anyway, it's definitely a big deal. It's cool, as I mentioned, that the military sees it that way as well. But it's just, I don't think it's cool to be putting out somebody's personal stuff like this.
All of the reasons: adultery, DUI, and detainee abuse investigations. And as that relationship spiraled, but as you can see here, all of the reasons: adultery, DUI, and detainee abuse investigations. And as that relationship spiraled, I'm going to show you some things that happened here. And this is where I'm going to tell you, extreme viewer discretion advised. All right, so some of this I'm not even going to be able to read because of YouTube censorship guidelines, but we'll work our way through it. Okay, as you see here, even though I confessed to my husband and left, he was also very much full of rage. Sometimes he would just snap. All of this anger would just come out of nowhere, and he's the window of my truck, throw things, scream at me, and threaten me by saying I better stop whatever I was doing, yelling or defending myself, because he was capable of things I couldn't imagine, and not to put myself in that situation. He's got in my face, bowed up to me, telling me I'd better shut my mouth because I had no idea what he was capable of. The worst was him putting a loaded blank to my face. He did this because I turned down a song he was listening to so I could hear what he was saying. He was drunk. He also has thrown me to the ground. He did this when I was 3 months pregnant. I called 911, but I did not press charges. He had threatened to commit S every time I thought we should part. I would stay. During that same time we were seeing each other, he was also on and off with his ex-wife. Found out another time in particular when I went to his house to visit. She was there. I didn't go inside, but just drove away. I later found out from her that he had pointed a loaded gun and threatened to shoot her if she didn't leave. He did this because she admitted to sleeping with his friend and then roommate. I talked to John about this, and after the fact, he not only admitted everything to me, but he also told me that she was 5 seconds from getting her head blanked off if she hadn't left. We'll scroll down to the bottom. He has had the police called on him several times by his ex-wife for blank abuse. The reason: redacted, excessive abuse on detainees. So what you see there, and why that's redacted, is the reason he was removed from Delta Force. It's a little bit different story than he's told about getting divorced, and that's why, according to the investigation here, was because of excessive abuse of detainees. He has told me in reference to that everyone was doing it. And he had done a lot worse things than he had even gotten fired for. That goes against everything this funny green hat stands for. The oppressor bear, to free the oppressed.
Grammarly helps me get the best grades possible while depleting the least amount of hours of my week.
And that's not even the worst of it. I'm also now going to show you something that John said himself. And this is extreme.
And it's, again, just reiterating the comments that I said before. It's sad that 100% that if that stuff happened, that it's happened. It's also sad that it's been shared. It's also, again, not trying to defend John McPhee. I don't know him from a bar of soap, but it's also one version of events. It's not a full picture, if that makes sense. And so because of that, it can seem pretty biased, I suppose. It doesn't look good, doesn't read good, doesn't sound good, as this guy is reading it out. But man, yeah, I just don't know. I just don't agree that it should be shared out. I mean, I'm doing a reaction to it now. It's obviously already out on YouTube and in the public domain, and no doubt thousands of people have likely watched this, seen it, and whatever. I haven't read the comments in this video, so I'd be interested to see. I might have a look at those later. But man, yeah, pretty sad. Again, for me, it still doesn't give the both sides of the story. Maybe John's got a version of it. Maybe it might be hard to believe what he says based on what people have heard or seen so far. I would probably have some doubts or skepticism with regards to if he was to respond to these things. But yeah, pretty hard, man, when somebody's grabbed your private information under the Freedom of Information Act, whatever you want to call it, and then just broadcast it across the internet. That's tough, man. Yeah.
Viewer discretion advised. Okay. I'm not even going to be able to read most of it, but it's going to be up here. There is an email from Sergeant Major McPhee to the victim, which states, following blank intercourse the previous night, in a statement, he explained the context of the email to be that evening, he was over at her apartment, could not recall the reasons. They started to mess around. He stated she had already taken medication for the evening and laid there versus being fully involved. As we scroll down to the bottom here, you'll find out about the victim. When asked, Sergeant Major McPhee stated that many times when he went to the victim's apartment after 7 o'clock, he had to bang loudly on the door just to be heard. Since she took 2 Ambien and Xanax to sleep nightly. To all the young men watching this, who look up to Green Berets, look up to special operators, there is no situation ever where this is okay. I don't want you to think that for a second. So I think we all can understand now why Special Forces Command and Special Forces Regiment decided to strip his Special Forces tab and his Green Beret, ban his security clearances, demote him. Super disappointing, man. Super disappointing. You have to be honest, guys. And you can be honest, all right? There's guys out there. Taylor Kavanaugh, great example. Kicked off of the SEAL teams. He tells that story honestly, with integrity. And people respect him for it. But this brings up the question of, if you're going to lie about all of these things, what else might you be lying about? Well, let's take a look at something.
Did you do any deployment trips in that 18 months?
Sorry to pause this as well, but I love the fact that you said you can be honest. I personally don't agree with broadcasting somebody's private personal information online on the internet anyway. Unless that person has disclosed it and brought it up themselves and put up their hand and said, yep, I was a dickhead, I did this, I did that, or whatever. I'm not sure if the use of that term dickhead is going to get my video censored. I don't know. I don't really care. Unless the individual has come out themselves, like this Kavanaugh guy that he's just referenced, and put up their hand and said, I did, some really dumb things. I did these things. I don't know if the Kavanaugh guy has done that. Sounds like he must have, because I think Brent referenced that as well. Then I don't think it's for anybody else to broadcast that. Maybe the victim, or not maybe, probably the victim, if the victim wanted to come out and go, I'm the person that this such and such did this to. But yeah, geez, man, this is tough, rough for anybody. I can't say that I feel sorry for John McPhee, if that's what he's done. I just don't think it's the right thing to do from the host of this podcast's perspective, of going and getting a whole bunch of paperwork about John McPhee and then broadcasting parts of it. Like, clearly I don't think he's going through every page, because there's only about 3 minutes left in this video, thereabouts, but still it's enough to that I think is pretty, I don't know, it's like a fine line is sort of the words that are coming to mind, but I don't know if that describes it the way that I'm wanting to try to describe it. Like, I'd like to think there are boundaries with regards to what you're looking to do when you're getting into the space. But then again, I suppose with things being under the Freedom of Information Act, and if it's there and it's free and you can do it, then hey, fill your boots if that's what you want to do. But yeah, there's just, I don't know, there's got to be something internally at some point where you go, you know what, this probably isn't my place to be broadcasting the stuff out about an individual. Anyway.
Let's see. Oh, we jumped in Iraq in like fucking 90 or whatever it was. I broke my leg,
Shit.
landed in a minefield, had to walk with broken bones, and then yeah.
All right. So
Okay, just before I was waiting for a pause there, just before this guy comes back in. Obviously we heard Brent and Tyler and them talking about the jump, and it sounds like it was maybe into Kuwait instead and part of a potential live fire exercise, but they sort of mentioned that he didn't, or they made, I think it sounded like Brent and them made a point of saying that he didn't jump into Iraq. I don't think I remember them talking anything about a minefield, so that's crazy. Interesting to hear John McPhee say that he landed in a minefield and broke his leg. So anyway, let's carry on.
John says there in Mike Ritland's podcast, I believe that was less than a week ago, that he jumped into Iraq during Desert Storm in 1990 into an Iraqi minefield. That's an insane story. But I said we were going to come back to his service records real quick. Let's take a look at those. Now, when I look at these service records, the first thing I notice is John didn't join the military until January of 1991. How did you jump into an Iraqi minefield in 1990 when you weren't even in the military? But let's say he forgot when he joined the military. January of 1991. Do you guys know when Desert Storm, the combat of Desert Storm ended? February of 1991. The war ended when John was in basic training.
Wow.
And not only that, he's missing two very important service awards. He doesn't have the Southwest Asia Service Medal, which Desert Storm veterans get. And he also doesn't have the Kuwait Liberation Medal of Saudi Arabia, which is what you would have gotten for Desert Storm. What he does have is the Kuwait Liberation Medal of Kuwait, which you could have gotten up until 1993, well after the war. So, interesting story. Sounds cool. The dates, unfortunately, don't work at all. It may have been that he did a static line jump onto Kuwait airfield after the war was over, but that is a very, very different story than jumping into an Iraqi minefield during Desert Storm. So I think it's time for some honesty, and it's time to stop representing yourself as part of our community, which you are most certainly not. You guys think I'm just trying to go after this guy? I can assure you there are 200 more pages of this, far, far more embarrassing than what I've showed you. And I'm hoping I don't need to release any more of this. I'm hoping this is enough. Or I may have to public forum and release every single one of these documents to the public in a Google Drive. I'll just have to wait and see. That's not going to be up to me. So again, I'm sorry to, all of his fans and supporters. I get it. There's going to be a lot of cognitive dissonance that goes in learning something like this. I've had no problem with John. I've done multiple pieces of content on John. You can go back and look for yourself. I have been supportive of him or defended him in every single one. But this is not what the Special Forces Regiment is about. And the Green Beret community will continue to police its own.
Wow. This is, sorry, I lost track of time. This is nearly 40 minutes on here, 38 minutes showing on there. Man, heavy stuff. Feel for, those that like this guy going through and digging into it and then, hearing what he said. I haven't gone back. Like I've said, I don't know much of anything about John McPhee other than my mate Damien Porter interviewed him, what I've heard on the Antihero podcast and what I've been reacting to, and then been sent this to have a look at it. I don't know what sort of things he's said on the Sean Ryan show apart from the small snippets and clips that I've seen so far from that Antihero podcast, the Barney Fife of Baghdad. So clearly he's said a lot of stuff that has upset a lot of people. It's interesting that when this guy's spoken about stop representing yourself as though you're part of this community. Fair enough. If that's if the reality is that that's not how or where he retired from. But also I think the reality is that John was a part of that community for a period of time. I don't know how long that was, but sounds like quite a significant period of time. And he deployed and served in a number of areas by the sounds of things, whilst a member of the unit. So I think, that he's always got a connection to that part of his life and to the unit for the time that he was there. He may not be, and I don't know, he may not be that well liked by people that were in the unit at the same time as him. I think that's the same probably for anyone and everyone. There's probably people that maybe don't like this guy during their time for whatever reason. There's no doubt there's people that probably don't like me from my time in battalion or my time in the unit. Because I know that there's people that I didn't really have a lot of time for in both battalion and in the Special Air Service Regiment in Australia. I think that's normal. I don't know that it would be normal to get on like a house on fire with absolutely everyone. But anyway, back to John and his time. Like, he's always got a connection, that Special Forces community, whether people like it or not. He may be misrepresenting himself in regards to the way that he retired and the fact that he didn't retire as a sergeant major within the Special Forces or from Delta Force. He retired as an infantry person with whatever unit he was with. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe if he just tweaked the way that he presented himself or the way that he was introduced, maybe that might calm the farm, so to speak, with regards to people's perspective or perception of him and what he's saying. The other aspect, which is probably a lot harder, is potentially the descriptions of jobs and tasks that John claims to have been a part of, and or the things that he claims to have done. That's probably another aspect of it, which may and likely rubs people up the wrong way. Me not knowing him, but me just listening to some of the bits that I've heard from the Antihero podcast, a lot of the stuff that he's talking about just sounds far-fetched and doesn't make sense. And in my basic opinion and understanding of what little I know about the US Special Forces and their processes and that sort of stuff, and also acknowledging that I don't know any former Delta Force or current Delta Force operators. It seems a bit off with some of the stuff that John has spoken about. But anyway, all of that stuff being said, I personally, I still don't think it's cool to be broadcasting somebody's private stuff. And I hope this guy doesn't put up the other however many pages he says he has, another 100 or 200 pages that he says he has of information on John McPhee with regards to what he's done in his time whilst serving in the Defence Force. It's not great. That's something that he has to carry and live with, and I think there's a part, like there's soldiers around the world that can, and it's not unique to soldiers, but that can and that do feel like crap, and that take their own lives, as a result, that can be pushed over the edge to commit suicide through either embarrassment or shame or things that they've done that they feel like is irreparable. There's no way that they can come back from this, and they just, sadly go and take their lives. I'd hate to think that this guy, wanting to try to bring out the truth for whatever those reasons are, like I said, I don't know what the catalyst is for this, but we should be mindful of each other, and the potential impact that this could have on John McPhee if he watches this. Even the stuff in and around Tim Kennedy, maybe it's not affecting people like the Tim Kennedys of the world. Maybe it won't affect the John Shreks of the world. Who knows? But I just think it feels like and seems like a dangerous space to go into if we're going to be targeting. I don't know if targeting is the word. I don't think he's looking to do this to target John. I think he's looking to try to highlight and bring about the truth of whatever John has said on other platforms. I have to admit, I was interested to watch the Sean Ryan interview with John McPhee and react to that. I'm definitely not interested in looking at that and reacting to that now. I will finish off the reaction to the Antihero Podcast breakdown of things with regards to John McPhee. But yeah, I really hope this guy doesn't go putting up the other pages in regards to John. I'd hate to think that something like this could have a real negative impact on an individual, regardless of what they may or may not have done. And yeah, because it seems like, why do I say that? It seems like John is in a good space now for whatever faults he has, like which we all have faults. Whatever faults he may have, seems like he's in a good space. He's seems like he's doing well. Cool, man. If somebody's doing well in their space and it's not hurting anybody, maybe it's stroking his own ego and making him feel a certain way, whatever, like inside the individuals know. The individuals know whether they're that guy or that person or not. And, if people are getting duped into thinking that he's a certain type of person when maybe in reality he isn't, or maybe in the past he wasn't that person that he claims to have been, as long as it's not hurting those people either. Is it okay? I don't know if it's okay. But I just, maybe I'm not making sense, but I just think it's a real tough space to be in. Fine line between wanting to highlight the truth, but potentially really negatively impacting an individual who we don't know what might happen or how he might take it. I don't even know if he's seen this stuff. But yeah, not cool to have your personal private stuff splayed out all over the internet with regards to things that you've done, that we've all done in our past that we're not proud of. I know for me it was super hard to talk about nearly going to jail with regards to while I was on the New Zealand SAS cycle and what happened there. Like that, if I could have, I would have preferred not to have spoken about it, but there were a number of questions, and then I felt, for me, I've felt like, well, there's stuff there that I need to share, which might answer some questions that people might have. But yeah, it's not easy even, and I don't know this Kavanagh guy's story either. So when you're having stuff that then gets put out by other people that weren't a part of your particular journey, it's tough. I think that's a bit harsh. Anyway, I don't have the answers either. I think maybe just leave that stuff alone. People will catch themselves out. What goes around comes around, karma, all that good stuff. People eventually get caught out in things that they do and or have done. And we might say that this is John getting caught out for the things that he said and has done and or has not done. Maybe this is his version or a version of karma that's coming for him. But yeah, it's still tough, man. I just honestly don't have all the answers. And I feel sad in the sense that some deeply private, and I know I've mentioned this, some deeply private and personal stuff about him is broadcasted all over the internet. But anyway, hey, people are interested in it, and people are likely searching it out. Thank you to those that sent me this link for this video to give me some context, and appreciate anybody if you stuck around this long listening to me ramble on for nearly an hour. I do appreciate your time and support. Be interested to hear your thoughts, your comments, your opinions around it. Maybe you think it's right that this stuff is out there. Maybe you think similar to me. Maybe you think completely opposite to me. I don't care. Any and all of your comments, anybody's comments are welcome on the channel. I don't block any comments. If your comment isn't showing up, I can guarantee you it's not because I've deleted it or because I'm trying to block it. yeah, I don't know. Sometimes there's people's comments have reached out to me, and sometimes the comments that they put in on my channel on some videos, sometimes they're not there, and I don't have the answers for that. I haven't changed anything in my settings, so hopefully your comments sit there if you want to add anything to it. But anyway, as always, the message is the same from me. Anybody going through any dark times, challenges, difficulties, man, I just encourage you to keep turning up. Keep staying in the fight, put one foot in front of the other, take one day at a time. I know it can be hard. I know it can be really lonely and miserable. I know it's, you can go to some very dark places. I get it. I understand. And I think we all have been there. But what I also know is that through patience and through deliberately and intentionally trying to improve and trying to be better, that better days are ahead. That things can, do, and they will get better if you want them to, and you're willing to put in the hard work, stay consistent, stay disciplined, and be patient as well. Things will get better. There is a light at the end of that tunnel. So as always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video, there's a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.